had to get a shot of you coming around Mr. Big there.
Think big, baby. Think big.
Is that what it is?
It's titled Think Big.
Now, that's not you though. That's not you standing there looking up.
Well,
Was it made in the creation of you?
You're very funny. It was actually made in the creation of you.
Oh, really? I always think big. Are you kidding me?
You see, what's great?
Now, you put that in New York City, right? Didn't that sit in New York City for a while?
Yeah, well, what's great about that sculpture is the artist is a fellow named Jim Renner, and he's from Salt Lake. And when he first created it, it was a 1-inch figure on a 14 by 14 inch plate.
Okay.
So it showed the solitude of this one little abstracted figure looking up, thinking big.
Okay.
And it's kind of like the artist Jim Renner. He came from nothing, had no money, and had a vision that he would become a sculptor and he would be able to support his family. And little did any of us know that the visions that would come from the man's mind would become symbolic of the art world in New York City.
Yeah.
Because what he did is, through positive thinking, he created this monumental Think Big sculpture. And yes, we just dropped it on 57th Street without permission.
I was there.
So, and then it spent a year in New York.
Was amazing.
It has its own website, and it's a positive message to everyone that says basically, listen, if you think big, you can achieve your dreams.
Now, for those who don't know who you are, you're Mr. Ron Cavalier, the gallery owner of Ron Cavalier, Cavalier Gallery.
Cavalier Gallery is our 30th anniversary.
And you're in New York City, Greenwich, and here.
We are indeed.
You've been here for how long on Nantucket?
Well, this is, let's see, we came out here in 2000, so this would be year 17.
Yeah.
So 17 years.
Why did you come here? What was the choice?
I came here because a lot of my clients were summering here.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful place, and at the time my children were young, and it seemed like a win-win situation, and it became such. And listen, it's a very sophisticated market here. People come from
Did you see that coming in 2000? I mean, look, the difference between where we are now and what it was in 2000 it's still pretty drastic.
Well, but they were the wealthiest people.
Yeah.
A good number of the wealthiest people in the country had homes or were in the process of building homes out here, with the new golf course opening in the club.
Oh yeah, right.
I mean, it's let's face it, it is what it is, Ron. Very exclusive place.
Yep.
Many people compare it to Aspen or St. Bart's.
Well, you live in Greenwich.
I live in Weston, Connecticut, but I do have a gallery.
And how long have you had that there?
I've been there since 1993.
What are the differences between Greenwich and here?
Well, first off, I would consider this a vacation place. Even though I do realize, and I have great respect for the year-round residents here, but my clients, for the most part, when they're here, are on vacation. In Greenwich, my clients are in the process of going about their daily lives, and that may be that perhaps they're only in Greenwich for 3 or 4 months, but they're conducting business and taking care of important things in their lives there. They're a little bit more relaxed here, I would say, for sure.
It's good it rubs off on people. I think that's one of the reasons why they love coming here.
I think when you're relaxed, you can focus on things that normally might be outside of your thought process.
Does that make it harder to sell them art?
Here?
Yeah. Well, aren't they more suited for year-round places? Rather than relaxing and thinking about art?
Well, it depends. On a bright sunny day like today, it is, because they're all going to be on the boat, the golf course, the beach. And when they're not there, it's hard to sell them. But no, I think those people that have an interest in art have an interest in art, and they make it a point to get around and visit with us. And we try to get the word out to them as much as possible, and we also try to bring in exhibitions that are compelling and interesting for them, and very diverse. This is a diverse island. It has a history of sailing and whaling, so consequently we have a beautiful exhibition of marine painting and marine and maritime paintings that include people like historic nature Buttersworth and Moran, up to the contemporary Dutch master Martin Plotje. So we have a nice range.
Yeah.
And we're also showing local artists that live on the island. We have Lou Garnaccia, who does some wonderful pictures of maritime and sailing, as well as Jan Pulowski, who's been an island favorite for many years.
You got Jan?
So we have Jan this year. But most importantly, of all the local artists we have Robert Stark's work.
Of course.
I mean, he was Nantucket's iconic painter for at least 50 years.
All right, but look, I want to go back. Oops,
Yes.
I actually wanted to take that road, but we'll come back around. How did you get involved in becoming an art dealer, art curator, or whatever? How do you call it?
Art dealer.
Art dealer. How did you get involved in that?
Well, when my father owned an art foundry where sculptors bring their work to have it cast into bronze. So I grew up sort of in the sculpture world, you could say. I mean, from as young as 10 years old, I would go into the art foundry on a Saturday, and my father would set me up on a wax injection machine, or he would have me doing some sort of the lost wax process, helping out and making a little extra money for myself and that sort of thing.
Where?
I was originally in Norwalk, Connecticut, and later on in Bridgeport,
Okay,
Connecticut.
so you're a Connecticut kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, my dad was from Brooklyn, actually. My mother was from Jersey. They were both in the theater. They met at Summerstock in Maine. And long story short, they were living in the city together, pursuing their acting careers. And the Korean War came along. Dad got drafted. And on one of the trips home, Mom got pregnant. And the next thing you know, they started a family, and he needed to make money. So he went out and he took a job in a commercial foundry making parts for the military, which he later took over. But he had friends that were sculptors. He wanted his hand in the arts. So he modified the lost wax process, ceramic shell technique, and he was actually the first one to use that technique to cast sculpture into bronze.
Interesting.
Tough business, not a very profitable business, and so I was there. I was with him there, and I learned how to restore sculpture. He restored the Hirshhorn collection when it was in Greenwich, Connecticut, before it went to the Smithsonian and became the Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden. So I was very fortunate in my early teens to spend a lot of time on Joe Hirshhorn's estate, and I was able to walk around and see the great Henry Moore, the Burghers of Calais, Henri Matisse's Backs, the great Calder Staybill, Pustagues. I mean, you name it, he had them all. He had all of the greats. So that sort of laid a foundation for me. And at that time,
what kind of a foundation?
Well, a foundation of knowledge and
appreciation.
In that I,
Did you ever see yourself being an artist?
I am not an artist. I cannot.
Did you ever try it?
Yes, I tried it for about 20 minutes.
What did you do?
I took some clay home with me. I was in my early 20s, and I was going to sculpt a female torso. And after about 20 minutes, I realized this was going to take me at least hours, probably days, and possibly a lifetime.
Yeah, right.
So I decided this was not for me, and I picked up my fishing rod and I went fishing.
What made you decide to become an art? I mean,
an art dealer?
Yeah, I mean,
well, when I was working in the foundry, it was hard. I was pouring molten bronze at 2,100 degrees. I was doing patinas. It's a very difficult work that I wasn't really loving. I was the hand of the artist, so to speak. I didn't want to be the hand of the artist.
Yeah.
And my father would send me into New York City to deliver the final product, the sculpture, to various galleries, and to visit the museums on a regular basis. And I would sell and going into the galleries on 57th Street and meeting people like Leo Castelli and Andre Emmerich, and I said to myself, this is where I need to be.
You liked hanging out in the galleries and meeting
it's
the people.
Who wouldn't? Beautiful women, beautiful people, great art. I mean, why not? So,
yep.
In 1986, I left the foundry and I went out and I opened my own gallery. And
what was that like? That gallery?
It was primarily sculpture with a few painters. I mean, it was, I just took every nickel I had to do it. I was single at the time.
Was it in New York City?
No, it was in Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay.
And, I was fortunate to meet people that became patrons.
Was it a good time to be in the art business? This was, you said, the 70s?
It was 86, 87, 88 were good. I mean, they were great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the bottom dropped out with the recession of 89 into the 90s.
Right.
That was a very difficult time because we were still a young gallery, and a good portion of our clients at that time were real estate developers, and they were really affected by that recession.
Are they still the buyers? Are real estate people still?
Some of them are, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I want to get into with you, Ron. Is who buys art? When do they buy it? How cyclical is it? And how is it changing, this whole art world? I I mean,
well, I mean that's.
And how do we propagate it? How do we make people appreciate it? Because this is my assumption.
Yeah.
That young people are not as interested in art and in the acquisition of art as maybe older people are. Is that true?
Well, it certainly is now, since they've taken most of the arts out of the schools.
Right.
Well, all right, so if we want
Why are they taking art out? Why do you think they're doing that?
They don't have the money anymore.
They think that's the first thing that should go?
States are, of course.
Art is extremely important. It's a reflection of who we are as
Listen, I hope you become an advocate for them to bring it back. But it's number one on the cutting block, and that's been going on for a while. So of course there's no interest because there's no knowledge. There's a lot of areas in this country where where they have no access to the museums, and it's just not possible. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember coming back from the Hirshhorn estate, and he had Henry Moore's King and Queen, which is an unbelievable sculpture. Which talks.
Oh yeah,
I love the piece.
I love it.
And I'd come back and I'd go play baseball or basketball with my buddies. They had no idea what sculpture was or art was. There was no knowledge. So, and one of the things that we've always tried to do, and you see wherever our galleries are, is we bring art to the public.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit
by putting sculpture on. In fact, we've done that here on the island too,
of course,
as you guys know. But anyway. So that's one of the challenges, is that it really not until most kids get into college are they really starting to get exposed to the arts. And fortunately, the colleges have been very active and continue to be very active in the creation of artwork and acquiring artwork for their various campuses around the country. So that's very important.
Well, how would you define where we're at right now in the art world and specifically on Nantucket?
Well, I think on Nantucket you have a pretty good saturation of art here. I mean, if you wanted to put this up against any town this size in America, it's right there. There's a lot of art here.
You got it.
So, is there room for more art? Well, I mean, there's always room, but
right.
If the people who are bringing it out here and showing it need to sell it and make money from it, it makes it more difficult. Obviously, the more competition, the more the client base gets diluted. It's simple economics.
Are people buying traditional art or more modern art?